Hello, this is BoomerTech Adventures, and in this video we're going to take a look at the dating scene online for boomers and seniors. And we're especially going to focus on how to date online safely. Some of our topics include just an overview, how you get started, things to consider when you're creating a profile, how you sort through your potential meets, and then finally, meeting in person. Now here's an overview. 30 million US adults and 19% of the adults between 50 and 64 have explored online dating. Why? Well, people seem to find that people who go online, who fill out a profile, are more intentional. They are looking for a serious relationship. The users of online dating apps seem to be more focused, again, really thinking about what they're looking for in a potential partner. Many people who have dated online say that it speeds up the process because so much conversation goes online, goes before actual meeting while you're talking online. And a lot of folks like the algorithms, those formulas which seem to be able to match people by interests, etc. So when you're getting started, it's important to choose the right site. And the first thing you need to consider is your purpose. Are you looking for a long-term relationship? Or perhaps you're just looking for somebody who wants to go out for dinner and a movie once in a while, but you don't want any really strong attachments? What is your purpose? You got to be clear about that because you want to make that clear in your profile. And what about your budget? How much are you willing to spend? Because there is a whole continuum of price ranges. Now, when you're thinking about money, you've got to consider what you actually get. And here's things that you need to consider. What is the real cost? Some of these sites are free, but if you want to get more features, you have to pay for a premium plan. With the money you decide to spend, can you see your match's picture? Do they offer specialized groups such as divorce, widowed, gay, Christian, Jewish, etc.? Those things are all important that you need to think about. If you are determined that you really just want to date somebody who is a widower or a widow, then you need to put that into your consideration as you choose a group. Other attributes. Is there unlimited messaging? Having conversations online really helps people get to know the other one and decide whether or not they want to take the next step to meet in person. And so that unlimited messaging is a really nice attribute. Can you see who has viewed your profile? Is that important to you? And you need to think about, as you consider price, how are they making their matches? Are they using questionnaires, the algorithms, personality traits? You need to do some research. Now, here are some sites for the over 50 crowd. This came from a recent Newsweek article. Again, need to do your research. All you have to do is click on any of them and you can find out about them, what their price is, what they offer. Also, go online and look for reviews of eharmony.com or reviews of silversingles.com, and you will find what people have to say. And so that will give you more information to make an informed decision. Now, eventually, you're going to set up a profile if you're going to go to the next step. If you've signed up and you're actually looking for a match. But before you create your profile and before you post it online, there's some things you need to do. You want to get as much personal information off the internet as possible. So go into your Facebook account and make sure that your address and your phone number is not there. If you're on LinkedIn, make sure only your professional information is available. A lot of the experts suggest setting up an email account just for the dating process. Don't give out your usual email. You can set up a free one in Hotmail or Yahoo or Gmail. Others suggest using Google Voice, which gives you a phone number that is different from your usual phone number. And also, which we ought to do regularly anyway, is double check security settings on social media accounts to see who can see your posts, etc. All right, so after you get rid of your personal information, you've made sure that's scrubbed from your social media accounts, etc., then you're going to actually set up your profile. Now, things to think about. You really need to be honest about your interests, your values, what you hope for. You know, if you are a person who loves to travel and, staying home is not for you, you need to put that out there so that the person who's a real homebody says, well, it looks like a nice person, but I'm not willing to go on these cruises and get on a plane every 6 weeks. When you start looking through and start talking with potential matches, there's some things that you ought to do. And there are red flags that really suggest you ought to move on and not spend any time with this person. So the first thing is to check social media pages for the lifestyle information. And if you're seeing things that are making you uncomfortable, then you know that even though everything else seems okay, you probably don't want to spend time checking this person out further. Check Facebook. If they have few friends and few pictures, it might mean it's a fake site. So that's important to be aware of, that it is easy to set up a fake Facebook site. And the scammers do that to make them look legitimate. Look carefully at the pictures. Do they look like stock photos? For example, this picture right here. I got at an online stock photo site. And it just looks a little too perfect. And so if you're seeing pictures that look a little too perfect, a little too modeled, then they're probably stock photos and not really legitimate. Other red flags. Whatever you do, don't fall for sob stories or requests for money. You'd be surprised how many people do. Be really leery of anybody who seems to have exactly the same interests that you do. You know the old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't true. Yeah, that's what you need to think about. And if you start getting early declarations of love, that's another red flag. Probably the next question will be, can you lend me some money? So these are things that you need to be aware of so you can sidestep any scammers. And believe me, they're out there. The scammers, they're charming, they're persistent, they're persuasive, and they know how to play on our emotions and our sense of guilt. Now here is an article. This happens to be from England, but the woman loses nearly 113,000 pounds in dating site romance fraud. And here's what she said. He convinced her with documents and pictures he needed money for issues that had cropped up and stated he'd been taken captive by loan sharks. Asked why she'd been given money to a man who she'd never met, the export manager, so this is a woman, a professional woman who had a good job, when he said to me his life was in danger and I didn't hear from him, I thought he'd been murdered. Can you imagine feeling you're responsible for whether somebody lives or dies? Like I said, these scammers are persistent, they're persuasive, and they know how to play on people's emotions. When she actually checked out his address, nobody lived there. So again, you just need to be smart about it. A lot of the experts who study online dating behaviors suggest that you ask a good friend to check out any profile that appeals to you. They're going to be more likely to have an unjaundiced eye and say, hey, wait a minute, this seems to be too good to be true. Another piece of advice is keep the conversations on the site. Do not switch to private email. You do not want to give these scammers any kind of entry into your personal life before you are absolutely sure you want to go forward. Do a background check. Now that sounds like something out of a mystery novel, but when I talk with my young friends, they say, oh yeah, I do a background check before I make the match. And what shows up in a background check? Phone numbers, addresses, relatives, bankruptcies, foreclosures, criminal history, property ownership. So if somebody's saying that they own lakefront property, and when you do a background check, it's not there, then you know, you either got to check it out with them, be really direct and say, why do you say you have lakefront property when it does not show up on my background check? And you just Google background checks. They're not expensive to do to get the basics. White Pages has them. Anyway, take the advice of our younger friends. Do background check. So, when you're going to meet in person, prior to that day, schedule a video chat beforehand. You can see their appearance, their demeanor, their voice, what their surroundings look like. Again, one of my younger friends said, oh yeah, I check out what the house looks like behind them. If it's a real messy place, I know I'm not interested. Decide on a public place to meet. For heaven's sakes, don't meet any place private. Arrange your own transportation. Again, if you need to leave, you want to not have to be depending on anybody else. Make sure your cell phone is fully charged so there's no problems. More things to do. Program directions into your Maps app before leaving home so that if you happen to meet at a restaurant that you're not too familiar with, when you're leaving, you just touch the go button and you have the directions to get yourself home. Tell friends and family where you're going and with whom. You might even have a friend call you during the meet and just check in to see how you're doing. And lastly, carry pepper spray. Now, none of us liked to be so suspicious that we think that there's going to be an issue. But it doesn't hurt to be prepared. Once you're on the date, of course, be yourself, have a grand time. But the important thing is if you feel the least bit uncomfortable, leave. Do not worry about hurt feelings. That is not your problem. Trust your gut. The bottom line, you're not obligated. None of us are obligated to put ourselves in an unsafe situation to please another person. Think personal safety first and foremost. So as we close, important things to remember. Research your dating sites. Delete personal information on social media. Be on the lookout for those red flags throughout the process. Prepare before you head out for the first meet, and leave if you feel the least bit uncomfortable. A lot of people have found wonderful partners on online dating sites. If that's the route you want to go, then good luck and enjoy yourself. That's it from BoomerTech Adventures talking about online dating safely.